U.S. President Donald Trump imposes heavy tariffs on goods from China, Canada, and Mexico. Visitor arrivals to the city during the Lunar New Year rose 6% from last year. And residents are returning to Hong Kong towards the end of the holidays. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. U.S. President Donald Trump said he would place stiff tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China starting from Saturday, raising the prospect of swift price increases for U.S. consumers. Nasi Karim with more.
Donald Trump's promise on tariffs is set to take effect on February 1st, with goods from Canada and Mexico subjected to 25% duty, with an additional 10% to be imposed on Chinese products. Trump blames the three countries for the flow of illegal immigration and the drug fentanyl into the U.S., which the White House says kills thousands of Americans annually.
It's pure economic. We have big deficits with, as you know, with all three of them. And in one case, they're sending massive amounts of fentanyl, killing hundreds of thousands of people a year with the fentanyl. And in the other two cases, they're making it possible for this poison to get in. As you know, we have about a $200 billion deficit with Canada, getting close to $200 billion. They've treated us very unfairly. And I say, why should we be subsidizing Canada?
The U.S. in October last year imported 4.6 million barrels of oil a day from Canada and 563,000 barrels from Mexico. Trump said he may be flexible on oil tariffs, possibly bringing it down to 10%. Canada's outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Ottawa would have an immediate response to any U.S. action.
If the president does choose to implement any tariffs against Canada, we're ready with a response. A purposeful, forceful, but reasonable, immediate response. It's not what we want, but if he moves forward, we will also act.
Trudeau said less than 1% of fentanyl and illegal crossings into U.S. come from Canada. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said dialogue is the foundation of our country's relationship with the U.S. But if Washington goes ahead with its threat, Mexico has a Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C to defend the dignity of its people. Many analysts say all countries, including the U.S., will suffer from the tariffs, with the American middle class likely to face rising prices instead of Trump's promise to reduce inflation. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
The Chinese embassy in Washington said China and the U.S. should resolve their differences through dialogue because no one would win in a trade war. And a Hong Kong manufacturer expects Trump's tariffs to lead to fewer orders from the U.S. This Hong Kong shoemaking company relocated much of its production line to Africa more than a decade ago, with just a fraction of its factories staying in the mainland. Frank Leung, the company's managing director, said the 10% U.S. tariff slapped on China has pushed shoemakers like them closer to their limit. To cushion the impact from the tariffs, he said it's possible to transfer orders to factories in other countries, but there's a catch. Leung cites concerns that Trump can adjust tariffs on countries with major shoe and garment-making industries, including Vietnam and India. He said these countries also import much raw material from China. Political scientist Annie Lo said Trump is likely testing the waters and the strategy is to gain more bargaining chips for his future state visit to China. Lo says such future negotiations can lead to tariff exemptions on items including clothing. But he said the hike in tariffs on goods posing direct threats to the United States will likely remain. They include electric vehicles and tech products. He added that there's a risk that Trump's strategy would backfire on the U.S., as the protectionist measures on Canada and Mexico can push the two countries traditionally seen as U.S. backyards to develop closer ties with China. U.S. President Donald Trump held his first meeting with NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang yesterday and discussed semiconductors and artificial intelligence policy. Danny Zhou has a story.
The closed-door meeting between Trump and the AI giant's chief executive took place at the White House on Friday afternoon. Trump did not disclose specific details, but said it was a good meeting and described Huang as a gentleman. An NVIDIA spokesman confirmed that their talk touched upon the importance of strengthening U.S. technology and AI leadership. The get-together was reportedly planned before the Chinese AI startup DeepSeek released its latest low-cost AI chatbot, which rocked Silicon Valley. While DeepSeek said it used the less-power NVIDIA H800 chips, the US government is looking into whether the company bought advanced NVIDIA chips through third parties in Singapore. Sources say the Trump administration are also weighing on tightening restrictions on the sale of NVIDIA's H20 chips. Those chips can be used to run AI software and are used for the Chinese market to comply with US curbs on exports. Meanwhile, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott has ordered a ban on 6 products for devices issued by the state government. The prohibited list includes Chinese-based DeepSeek and RedNote. In Europe, the Netherlands privacy watchdog said it will launch a probe into DeepSeek's data collection practices a day after Italy blocked access to the app over privacy concerns. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Meanwhile, there was a hero's welcome for DeepSeek's founder Liang Wenfeng as relatives and villagers celebrated his homecoming in Guangdong province. After DeepSeek's AI assistant became an international sensation, Liang returned to his hometown this week to spend the Spring Festival with his family and friends. Red banners and a decorative arch were set up, praising Liang as a pride of their hometown. Born in 1985, Liang grew up in a humble family of primary school teachers in Mililing village in Zhanjiang, a port city in southern Guangdong. He co-founded quantitative hedge fund High Flyer in 2015 and launched DeepSeek in 2023. The Hong Kong Tourism Board said the number of visitor arrivals to Hong Kong during the Lunar New Year holidays has increased 6% so far from last year. There's a notable surge in international tourists as well. Ding Cheng, executive director of the Hong Kong Tourism Board, revealed that from the Lunar New Year's Eve to the third day of the Chinese New Year, there were a total of 680,000 travelers visiting Hong Kong. They include 568,000 holidaymakers from the mainland and 114,000 international travelers. The figures increased 4% and 16% respectively year-on-year. Cheng noted the Spring Festival, which is another name for the Chinese New Year, has been inscribed into UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. He said Hong Kong seized the opportunity to step up the campaign drive for the city's Lunar New Year fairs, the international parade, the pyrotechnic shows, and the Chinese New Year race day. He said all of which were very popular among tourists. What do international tourists think?
I think it's so fun that everybody said, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. So I'm already saying Happy New Year to everyone. It's really, really interesting.
I kind of want like a big fireworks show, actually. I want everything to be lit up, all the buildings to be lit up. And it was cool because last night, all the buildings kind of had the big screens lit up and they had like different things, Happy New Year, the dragons and stuff.
Also, a preview of the lineup of mega events on the way. Cheng said they include the Hong Kong Marathon next Sunday and the meet and greet of the Hong Kong-born Panda Cups in mid-February. The Kai Tak Sports Park will also open in March and host the International Rugby Sevens tournament. Cheng said the Tourism Board will turbocharge the campaign drive for the rugby games to woo more visitors to Hong Kong. Cheng also believes with the increase in flight capacity, airfares will gradually be lowered, which will attract more European and American tourists. In Macau, there were 219,000 tourists on the third day of the Lunar New Year, marking a high in single-day visitor numbers after the pandemic. Mainland tourists accounted for the bulk of tourists there. Hong Kong visitors made up 18% of the holidaymakers in the enclave. It is nearly the end of the Lunar New Year long weekend, and residents are starting to return to the city from their holidays. As of 4 p.m., almost 140,000 people arrived in Hong Kong via different control points. The Mosengai reports.
Time seems short when you are having fun. For many residents, the 5-day Lunar New Year break is almost over. At the airport, some travelers wished for a longer holiday. I spent the New Year in my hometown, in Mongolia. I don't feel good right now because I have to leave my parents and come back here to work, she said. Children have had a great time in Taiwan, but they need to prepare for school, this father said. At the Hong Kong port of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, some returning travelers explained why they came back one day before the end of the holidays.
Because we work here. It's the end of our holiday.
So today is the last day of your...
No, actually, yeah, sort of. Yeah. Tomorrow I have to work.
Between Monday and Friday, nearly 1.5 million residents left Hong Kong. On the second day of the Chinese New Year, about 400,000 people departed, while the return figure was 960,000.
The government earlier estimated around 640,000 inbound travelers on Sunday, with numbers peaking during the afternoon. Memos 9, TVB News.
And still ahead. Secretary for Education Christine Choi says the government will adjust funding for publicly funded universities. Second deadly plane accident in the U.S. in 3 days. And TVB News goes to Peru and finds a new way to access Machu Picchu. Welcome back. The government is expected to face a fiscal deficit of just under $100 billion for this financial year. With that, Secretary for Education Christine Choi says the University Grants Committee will adjust funds for the city's 8 publicly funded universities over the coming 3 years. Government funds will be adjusted between year 2025 to 26 and year 27 to 28. Choi says the quality of teaching and research of Hong Kong's higher education will not be drastically affected as universities receive funding from donations and have other income sources. Choi noted the government will not significantly raise the tuition fees for non-local students. The Hong Kong Tourism Industry Employees General Union says the tour guide who died in a bus accident in Shanghai last night did not belong to any specific travel agency. The group said the victim, surnamed Yun, held a valid tour guide license. He was around 60 years old and was working for Miramar Travel. The guide registered as a member of the Hong Kong Tourism Industry Employees General Union, which has an insurance policy for its members. The group says if the insurance claim is successful, his family could receive around $200,000. In the U.S., a medical plane crashed into buildings in Philadelphia, killing all on board. David Garrett has more.
The immediate aftermath of a plane crash in Philadelphia, filmed on a mobile in the car park near the Roosevelt Mall just after 6 p.m. Multiple fire trucks on the scene with firefighters tackling a large blaze. The medical transport plane was carrying 6 Mexicans, an ill girl, her mother, with 4 in the medical team, including the pilot. This security camera footage shows the moment of impact. The crash happened less than 5 kilometres from northeast Philadelphia Airport. The aircraft quickly disappeared from radar after climbing to 1,600 feet. It was airborne for less than 30 seconds. Buildings and cars were impacted with injuries on the ground. Bits of the Learjet 55 are strewn across the parking lot.
So what are we asking you to do for us right now, Philadelphia? We're urging you to please stay away from the scene. If you see debris, call 911. Don't touch anything. This is still an active scene under investigation.
Flames were still visible from the roof of the supermarket hours later. Work continues with all hands on deck. David Garrett, TVB News.
China has stepped up its investment in Peru in recent years. They include a tunnel construction project for the Andean nation's famous landmark, Machu Picchu. TVB News went to Peru to look at the project. Machu Picchu in Peru is one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Every year, the landmark draws thousands of tourists from around the world. But getting there is not easy. A round-trip train ticket from Lima costs $200. The train services are infrequent and passengers are not permitted to carry large pieces of luggage. Another option, taking long-haul buses, which are known for their gravelly, bumpy rides, with fog-shrouded stretches of road, treacherous turns, and rugged bends. Last year, a tour bus fell off the mountain here, causing numerous injuries, with a number of fatal cases before. And those woes might be eased by Peru's first tunnel to Machu Picchu, which began construction in 2021. Built by a Chinese company, the 2-kilometer-long tunnel is the largest and longest two-way single-track tunnel in the Andean nation. The engineering team from China said there were many challenges during construction, including the lack of skilled workers to carry out tunnel drilling and blasting works. He said they have conducted many training sessions with local workers and gradually improved their efficiency. The tunnel will be operational in April 2025 at the earliest. The chief of a nearby village said after the tunnel is completed, it can change the fate of their entire community.
This project has opened our eyes towards such advanced technology.
The Peruvian municipality anticipates the new tunnel to bring in more tourists and help boost the Machu Picchu economy.
Chinese people like Asian culture. We believe Machu Picchu would attract lots of Chinese tourists. We are also looking at ways to shorten the flight time between Peru and China.
But as the tunnel can bring more visitor numbers to Machu Picchu, the surge in footfall may lead to another problem. We will explore that issue in our next report. Snakes are often perceived as evil. In the Year of the Snake, Sakura Ip takes a closer look at the role and meaning of snakes in Chinese culture.
Getting closer to the star of this year requires some courage. A locally based foreign tour guide introduced a group of experts to snake dishes, a traditional winter Chinese cuisine, for the first time.
I'm in Hong Kong for 4 months now, and I never had this experience, so I feel it's good.
The food is delicious, just amazingly good. In Russia, we say, as wise as a snake.
In Cantonese, there are also slang terms related to snakes, such as those describing lazy people sneaking out for breaks during work. Dr. Xiu Yanhou, a lecturer at the Department of Chinese Language and Literature at Hong Kong Baptist University, says it refers to the concept of a snake hibernating during the autumn and winter. Additionally, the English word scare was transliterated into Cantonese using the Chinese character for snake based on its pronunciation. This association contributes to the scary reputation of snakes. In ancient China, people worshipped snakes. Snake patterns were found on bronze containers. Snakes also symbolized reproduction, according to Dr. Sam Tong, curator of the Art Museum at CHK. In this stone rubbing, a male Fuxi and female Nuwa, seen as the Chinese version of Adam and Eve, are depicted tied together by their snake tails. According to Chinese mythology, this is how they created the first human, their child. The Art Museum of CHK is featuring 20 sets of snake-related artifacts, showcasing diverse representation of this creature throughout the Chinese history. The exhibition will run until June 21st, with free admission for the public. Sakura Yip, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.